Bangkok. With me, Verapat Pariyawong, who is a visiting scholar at the School of Oriental and African Studies here in London. And Verapat, you actually grew up in Bangkok. What does it do to you seeing something like this happen in your city?
It's terrible. As a teenager, I ran around the area. There were department stores, shopping districts. You hang out with friends around there. So when you see pictures, explosions going on, it really saddens me. But we have to remember Thailand's been facing a very severe political unrest for several years, and this is, I hope, not something that's going to be a tip of the iceberg.
Those questions now are going to be so widespread about who might be behind this. Where do your thoughts lie?
Well, first of all, I think it's too early to speculate. Right the first hour after the explosion, one of the key spokespersons of the military government came out and suggested there could be political groups. But then again, the army itself came out and reshaped the message and said it's too early to say. So clearly the military regime understands that it's not productive to point fingers at political groups. Now we look at the scenarios concerning terrorist groups. If I may share a general perspective as a local person who used to live in Thailand, yesterday, before we had this bombing, there was a very big event called the Bike for Mum event. Basically, hundreds of thousands of bikers, cyclists coming out on the streets of Bangkok. So if it's indeed a terrorist act aiming to create casualties, then perhaps we can think why didn't you choose the target yesterday. Now the questions become: is it really targeting tourism industry? There are many places around Thailand with crowded tourists. If you remember earlier this year, there was a bomb in a car park on Koh Samui, one of the paradise islands in Thailand. That generated a lot of attention because Koh Samui resonates more for tourists around the world. But when you talk about Erawan Shrine, as a local, I know it. As a local, I know it. But I doubt if this is really the tourist target for a terrorist group. So again, we are facing a lot of unclear aspects of this scenario.
Where does this leave Thailand? And what do you think the reaction of the military government, who's been in power since last May, what do you think they might do now? I
think that's a very important question. Usually we look at the specific issues at hand, but we forgot to look at the broader issue. This incident, although it's unheard of for Bangkokians, it happens a lot of times for our fellow friends in the South. And today I see hashtags pray for Bangkok, pray for Thailand. Perhaps it's time that we shouldn't forget that we should pray for the south of Thailand as well, because there are innocent kids, teachers, Buddhists, monks, and Muslim citizens dying down there. And the problem is, there's a problem with the political democratic process in Thailand, because unlike in the UK or in the US or other places around the world, it's very difficult for us to hold a military establishment accountable for their intelligence failures. We don't have something like Iraqi inquiry like in the UK. We don't have the Benghazi inquiry like what is going on in the US. Very little probe into what's going on inside the military regime, who's doing what, are they doing their good job? So I think we need to focus more on the political process and bring the people in charge to answer questions, because the people have the right to know how could this happen.
And in terms of the security that the government might bring in reaction to this, do you think it will change how Thais go about their daily lives?
Well, I certainly hope that Thai people will courageously carry on their life. We are an open, warm, loving country that welcomes tourists from around the world. But I guess we will have fear, because just last week, the military establishment in Thailand, the military government, announced that we're going to have an election next year, and after the election, we're going to have a special constitution which would put in power a special committee that can act and supersede executive and legislative powers in times of crisis. So I think the military government right now understands the risk it's facing. Again, it goes back to the root cause of the problem, isn't it? We are facing deep political tensions and conflicts in Thailand, and by ruling countries with guns, you face more bullets and bombs.
Verapat Pariyawong, thank you very much indeed for coming in.